Good morning. This is your latest episode of Ask Me Anything. And today we're going to be talking about, is there an impending market crash? And the truth of the matter is we honestly don't know. There's a lot of things coming down the pike, a lot of innuendo, a lot of different things that are happening. Like a couple of weeks ago, the rates went down to zero, and then everybody applied for a refinance, and that overburdened the market, overburdened the lending market, and all of a sudden rates went back up to 4.5%. What's going on with that? There's a whole bunch of reasons why that's happening, and there's some other things that are happening too in the market that you have to be kind of aware of, and that's really more about what's happened so far and what possibly could happen. So is the market going to crash? Nobody knows. I don't have a crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in Hawaii having my servant bring me Mai Tais next to my estate, my $10 million estate. And that's just not happening, right? So nobody can tell the future. But what my main message is today is be ready. And here's why. Be ready to take advantage of what could possibly happen. Is the market going to crash? Your guess is as good as mine. So what's going on? So a couple of weeks ago, we were hearing about forbearance. And forbearance is basically going back to the lender and saying, I can't make my payments. I need help. And then the lender has to say, okay, you get 3 months to get your act together. And so the market, so what happened with forbearance? So 4 weeks ago, we were talking about forbearance. And what happened with forbearance was the government said, lenders, you're going to give homeowners or borrowers the opportunity to stave off, not have to pay their mortgage payment for 3 months. But in reality, what that means is you get 1 month off, 2 months off, 3 months off, and in the fourth month, you owe 4 months worth of mortgage. And that's not really helpful at all. And here's the other part of it that they don't really talk about is there's multiple levels in your loan. So you, the borrower, if you owe, let's say, $1,500 a month or $4,500 a month, let's just say that the average is $1,500 a month, and you bought your loan through Quicken or Chase or Bank of America or what have you, and then they sell your loan, they package it up with a bunch of other loans, and they sell it off to the secondary, tertiary market like Fannie Mae or private investors or what have you. Bank of America, Quicken, Chase, they still keep a part of that loan. They do what they call servicing the loan. And when they service your loan is they take your payment, take a little tiny bit, and then they pay the investors the rest. And if you have an impound account to pay your taxes and insurance, they make sure that happens too. And that's the value that they offer the big investors, is that they don't have to collect the monthly payments. So why is this important to know? Well, if forbearance happens and the servicer, the person in between, the bank in between, like Quicken, let's say that they have like 7 million loans, and they're looking at possibly giving forbearance to, I don't know, let's say 10% of them. That's 700,000 loans or borrowers that need help. The first month they have to pay for that. And let's just make the math easy. It's not $1,500. Let's just say this average of $1,000 a month that they owe the mortgage payment, that you owe in a mortgage payment, and that's $700,000. That's $700 million that Quicken would have to pay out the first month, and that's dangerous. That is very dangerous. That Quicken would have to pull $700 million out of their pocket to float 10% of their borrowers, or whatever the numbers are. I don't know exactly what the numbers are because I don't really care for Quicken, because they're in a situation right now where they're one of the biggest servicers in the United States, and they're looking at this as a huge, massive problem. So, question that the main reason why you're here is the market going to fall? We don't know, but that's one thing that could happen. That's absolutely one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is, let's say you bought a house at the top of the market and now you're not working and you have to give it up. There's some options that you can do. You can short sell it. If you remember back to 2007 to 2009, 2010, we were back in recovery. People were short selling their houses. They're letting it go or being foreclosed on, or they have something called a deed in lieu of foreclosure, which at the end of the day, it still hurts your credit, but you walk away from the house and the loan and you start your credit life over again. With so many Americans being unemployed right now, that's a huge possibility that this could happen, right? Just like in 2007, 2008, 2009, the same thing can happen. Here's something you have to know about that problem. One, they had those crappy loans, the pick and pay, the option arms where you can say I want to do reverse or interest only or full mortgage, and they were doing these crazy loans that just were not, that were toxic. They were toxic loans that performed as toxic assets, and after it went into the secondary market, they failed. We don't have those right now, but what we do, but what happened was, of all the foreclosures and everything that happened back then, that was only like 5% of the borrowers or homeowners that were out there. 5%. Could have been 6, could have been 3, could have been 4, I don't know. Let's just say it's 5. It's just 5% of the people out there that tumbled the market so horribly bad that people were jumping out of their houses because they really couldn't afford their loans. And there was panic selling going on. And people stopped making payments. So let's not say that we have the toxic assets anymore, the toxic loans, and they're overpaying, but you bought a $1 million house or a $500,000 house or a $3 million house, and your payments were enough that if you were continuing to work, you can make the payments comfortably. But now you're unemployed because of what's happening. You're going to have to walk away from that property somehow, unless you ask for the forbearance, or smartly what you should do is say, I don't want to do the forbearance. I need your help to help me figure out another way to do it. So call the banks, call them early, call them often, and communicate with them. If you want to keep your house, if you want to keep your property, call your banks. Tell them where the situation is. If you got laid off yesterday or you got laid off 2 weeks ago, call them today. Let them know where you are. Okay? A lot of things can be shifted around and postponed without using the forbearance rules. But talk to them. Okay? So you want to work with them, what have you. That can help prevent a lot of foreclosures. What probably is going to happen is everybody's going to panic and hide away and stick their head in the ground like an ostrich, and we're going to have foreclosure problems. So that could hurt the market, right? We could have short sales again. We could have all this other stuff that could be happening because we have such a huge unemployment and people just don't know. So that's really the thing that I want to talk to you about. If you own property, talk to your banks if you need help. Talk to the lenders if you need help. Communication is immensely key right now. All right. If you have assets, but they're for living and you need to stay in your house and you know you're on a short-term layoff or what have you, talk to your banks right now. Okay. Don't hide. Don't stick your head in the ground. Communicate. For those that don't, you've been warned. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. If the market does collapse, be prepared. Be prepared. That's all I'm going to tell you. Are you ready to write a check for a property if you see a foreclosure on the market? Do you have a loan approval ready to go? If you don't, let me know. I'll put you in touch with my lenders. And don't go with the big banks because right now they're kind of like being the ostriches as far as out getting out new loans. They're um, they're not closing off refinances quickly. They're extending a lot of things. They're not jumping into this market really quickly because right now they're kind of in a back panic because of what's going on with the forbearance possibilities. So talk to your lenders, and then, yes, they're not going to be the most favorable rates right now, but if 6 months or to a year they come out of this and you can refinance, you're going to get a much better loan. So if you're looking to be a first-time buyer, if you're an investor, you have money to put down or to buy cash, let me know. We can start something out there and start looking for houses, and when the timing's right, we can snap those up. But if you're a homeowner, do yourself a favor and do the banks a favor and talk to them and communicate with them and say, hey, look, everything's going well. I'm paying things. I'm still working, or I'm not. I'm going to need a couple months to figure this out. How do we do this? Please make sure you do that. All right, so that was my market crash crazy thing. Today's another episode of Ask V Anything, where you can ask me anything related to real estate or living in the Northern California, San Jose area. And today's topics are mostly for buyers. I got quite a few questions that came in over the last couple weeks, and I thought I'd sit down and answer them for you. Let's see. Ready? John B. from Almaden Valley. Are people still buying homes? Yes. People are still buying homes. People still have to move. People, for whatever reason, there's still a lot of houses on the market, and a lot of them are coming into contract. The last time I checked, it wasn't like the huge fireball of the market before this whole thing that happened. But yes, people are still buying. The last time I checked, we had 14 new properties, and like 15 were in contract, and 10 or 12 sold within a 7-day period. Now, we're used to 5 times that, 6 times that. So yes, the market has slowed down quite considerably, and I'm not seeing, $200,000 over asking. I'm seeing houses sit on the market a little bit longer. The prices has stabilized, and there's not a whole lot of competition out there. So if the market continues to go this way, staying strong, it's a good buying indication. So yes, John B. from Almaden Valley, people are still buying houses. Ann S. from Willow Glen asked, can I get a big discount if I buy now? Probably not. And the reason why is because people still have in their mindset, rightfully so, because the market hasn't dumped, or probably won't dump, but let's see what happens. Stay tuned, because afterwards we're going to talk about what happened in 2007, 2008, and why you should be a little bit more aware of what's happening now. So right now, people that are selling think their house is worth X, and if you come to them and say, I want to buy your property for X minus $200,000, they're going to smack you, and they're going to say no, and they're going to say, go away. We're not in a panic sell situation. I don't see that happening right now. And again, we'll talk about why in a few minutes. But right now, big discounts aren't happening unless it's a house that's burned down. Like we saw last year, where people were spending $800,000 over asking for a burned down home because of the land. So, and there's a hint to why you should hold on. Okay, so so Nguyen H from Santa Teresa area. Do I need 20% down? No. There's a bunch of different loans out there, and you probably know this, but if you don't, there's a conventional 20% or a jumbo 20% down. You can do 50% down too if you want, but then your it depends on your situation. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but you can also do an FHA loan, which is 3.5%. And if you're a veteran, or if you're buying agricultural land or farmland, you can use a USDA land or loan as well. So don't talk to big banks, because typically what they want to do is make you a square peg and fit you into a square hole. And if you don't fit, you're wasting your time, and they won't get back to you until 3 weeks down the road, and they're going to say, we need this, or we need to go to another bank, or what have you. If you work with a local lender, like the ones I have in my pocket, they understand the market, they understand the different products out there, and they understand a bunch of different scenarios to help you buy a house with the least amount of pain. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I'll introduce you to a few of my lenders, and we'll get you started on that. All right? Thanks, Nguyen. Nick Q from Evergreen. How long does it take to buy a home? Well, actually, I have a video about that right here. Make sure that you, I don't know. Make sure that you take some time to watch that video and understand it. But here's the thing. You need to have your loan approval first, and then you can go and buy a house. Because if you try to buy a house and give me an offer and you don't have a loan approval, and another guy comes in with another loan and he says, here's my loan approval, you're not serious about buying a house. You're just, if I get it, I get it. If not, great. But the guy with the loan approval, he's dead serious about buying that house. And that's the message that you're giving the seller. And it takes anywhere from 5 to 15 days to get a loan approval, because right now people are swapping lenders to get their loan approval, or to get their refi started, or get another purchase done. So take yourself some time. It's 5 to 15 days, and most of that depends on how quickly you can get information back to them, like your W-2 and your tax return and your check stubs and your bank statements. All that stuff is required by your lender. Okay. After that, it takes 1 to 30 days to find a house and write an offer and get in a contract. Depends on how aggressive you are and how you're looking at it, the strategies behind it, and that's what we talk about when we sit down to help you buy a house. There's a lot of strategies to make sure that you don't have to write 17 offers. And I've done that before, and it's painful and it's woeful, and I'll tell you why when we sit down. But so anyway. So after that, it's typically a 30-day process. And right now, because banks are over inundated with the 0% refi boom that really isn't a 0% loan, we're seeing loans delayed up to an extra 15 days. So keep that in mind. Right now, it's not a normal time. So we're looking at 15 days plus 30 days plus 15 days. You're looking at least 2 months of getting a house. So that's how long it takes to buy a home. When it was in the hot time and everybody had to be competitive, I can get you a loan approval in 5 days, and get you in a contract and close in 10 days. But right now, that's just not happening. It's just not feasible, and it's not required because the market slowed down and there's not that much competition. So it could be 15 days, it could be 60 days, it could be 90 days. We can extend a contract. On top of that, sometimes sellers need extra time to find a house that they're going to move to. So that could be another 15, 20, 30, even 60 days. So you got to plan for that and be aware of that. So there's some steps that we can do to help you figure all that out. But there you go. All right. Let's see. Leah M from Santa Teresa. What's the first step in buying a house? I kind of already said it. Get your loan approval started. Call one of my lenders. Give me a call. We'll get that started. We'll figure out which lender's best for you. But heaven's sake, don't use Quicken right now, because they're probably, do yourself a favor. work with a local lender who is going to be around for a little bit longer than some of the bigger banks. All right. Maria H from Morgan Hill. What's the best marketing strategy for selling my house? Well, there's a lot to talk about there. I don't really want to go into a whole lot of stuff about that, but understanding that putting a post out, putting it on the MLS and praying for an offer just isn't helping these days. There's a lot of different things that we can work with. I do all sorts of different things, including a 360 tour of your house, and you actually get a dollhouse and a 2D floor plan and the 360 tour video that gets put out to the market. And I don't just go out to Facebook, I go out to all the platforms possible, right? I think there's like 50 of them that are out there that we touch some way, some form. And it's not just like Facebook. I don't just put it out there on my channel. I put it out on multiple channels so that it gets as much coverage as possible. And there's some other things that we could talk about, but that's the latest technology that's awesome and fun to use. This is actually, I'm going somewhere at 2 o'clock today to do that for one of my listings. So there you go. You can take a look at that once that's done. Okay, Mina L from Los Gatos. Should I fix up my house before I put it on the market? Depends. Yeah, so it really depends. If you need to maximize and get as much money out of it as possible, we can figure out a way to ensure that you get as much money as possible. But this market right now, it's you're looking at dollar for dollar. So if you have an older, updated kitchen and you need windows and you need a new air conditioner and you need new bathrooms and new floor coverings and all that other stuff, you're looking upwards of $150,000, $200,000 to get it done. And yes, you can do it on the cheap. You can spend $50,000, $60,000 to do it, but it's going to look. And when you have mediocre work done and it shows an example. I have actually had to spot a crappy flip here, so make sure you check that out as well. Don't do stuff on the cheap. It just winds up biting you in the butt, and it hurts you, and it prolongs the sale. And I'm telling you that it just, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is either decide to sell it as is for a little bit less, sell it quick, or get that money and put it in there and do it right. Do it the right way with a licensed contractor, with permits, and you do it right and correct, and it makes it look amazingly beautiful, and we can do it for you while you're working or while you're saying. Right now it's kind of different where you're not working, or a lot of people are in place at home, so a lot of those projects are on hold right now. But at the end of the day, you have those choices. You can fix it up, make it totally turnkey, or you can leave it as is and sell it. And your delta of that, after you add in the extra costs and the extra time that it takes to get it done, because you're not talking about a couple months, you're talking about 5 to 6 months to getting a good job done correctly with permits and everything. So it depends on what you need and what your pain tolerance is and how much cash you have floating around. And we do have options to help pay for some of that. So again, ask. All right, so that's it. That was this episode of Ask Me Anything. If you have questions, DM me, email me, text me. And one time, in the next couple times, we're going to be doing it live. So if you want, you can pop in and physically ask the question on video if you want. If you want to do that, text me or DM me and let me know how you want to make that happen, and I'd be happy to work that out. And there you go. All right, that's it for now. Stay safe. I'm Vito Scarnecchia, your realtor in San Jose, California. We'll see you out there. Do me a favor real quick. Take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also hit the like, the little thumbs up, and the little bell so you'll be notified of upcoming videos.